Bills Mafia, what's the word? What's the word, baby? Now, we're a couple days away from the NFL draft, and obviously, we gotta talk, who we thinking, right? What's on the mind? So, hit that like button on the front end, and don't forget to subscribe if you are new to the channel. Now, since Stefon Diggs trade, we know that wide receiver has become even more, of a focal point in terms of free agency and this NFL draft. We obviously lost Gabe Davis as well through free agency. So our number one and number two guys throughout the past couple of seasons are gone. Now, in terms of how we've went about replacing that production, we brought in Curtis Samuel. Definitely like what he was doing. KJ Hamler, obviously one of those guys where you like some of the upside, but since coming into the NFL hasn't really lived up to, what we kind of expected from him. We still feel good about Khalil. Obviously, we know the familiarity there. But as a whole, we still feel a little bit light at the top portion of our wide receiver room, right? Because Stefon Diggs, we know it's top 5 wide receiver, man. But with that being the case, it's draft time. So now we're kind of going through the song and dance of number 1, who do we like at wide receiver? Number 2, do we stay at 28 or do we move up? Whether we're talking in them teens or do you flirt with that top 10? Now, we're in a weird scenario or weird space because we don't have a ton of draft capital this season, but we know how the draft works. If we want to move up, we got assets. We have multiple picks that we're able to utilize to move up if need be. So let's talk about a couple of scenarios, all right? So if we stay at 28, the receiver that a lot of the NFL experts have mocked to us is Adonai Mitchell or AD Mitchell, wide receiver out of Texas. Dude could take the top off the defense. A fast, down the grass guy, consistent catcher with his hands, man. I thought that he looked good. Now, in terms of where I think he can improve is the route running element. Right now he's a fast guy. Right now, when you're talking about just the detail that would need to carry over at this level in terms of get in and out of his breaks, that's going to be something that he definitely needs to improve upon. But I feel like year 1, at worst, he is your vertical threat. Take the top off the defense. Let Josh use the big arm. And hey, man, let's see how fast and how far you can run. Almost like a Tyreek Hill light, Jalen Waddle light type scenario if you were going to go that route. So, like I said, I don't hate that move. Not at all. The other, pretty common receiver that's been mocked to us as well is in the scenario of us potentially trading up into the teens, right? Anywhere between 15 to 20 or, potentially 13, right? If you had to go in that range. But the wide receiver is Brian Thomas Jr., the other wide receiver from LSU that was opposite of Malik Nabers. Brian Thomas, man, he's one of those ones. You talk big speed, athleticism, soft hands in terms of catching the football, can win outside, can run in that slide win as well. He's one of those guys. Now, you got to trade up to get him, obviously. So we know, with that, you're going to have to give up some assets, whether it is, one of them 60th overall pick or one of these other picks potentially, right? But is he worth it? To me, man, he is definitely one of those guys, man, that if we put him out there, we will feel, I won't say it will completely, cover that loss of the Diggs and Gabe Davis type scenario. But I will say that he will help us in a major way this year without us having to, wait a long time to start getting production from him. I think he is a wide receiver that can run routes. He's smooth. He is fast. But more importantly, he has really good size on him. And those are some of the things that I think Josh would definitely benefit from having a receiver like that. And obviously for Brian Thomas, he's played with the quarterback last year in Jaden Daniels, who has a little bit similar style to Josh, right? Extending the play, utilizing his legs, understanding how to, when he's scrambling around, you find that lane, get open. Josh is very much like that, one of the best in the world doing that. So for Brian, I think it'll be an easy transition as well for him, man. So that's definitely one of those guys that if we went that route, I'm all for it, man, because I do feel like, he can come in here and definitely help us out right now. Now, some of the other wide receivers that, have been flirted, with us, right? Malik Nabers. We know Malik. I call him Lil Jamar Chase. He looked just like him on the football field, just a little bit lesser version. But he's still a problem. Gets the football in his hands. He's like a running back out there, wide receiver, when he has that rock, man. So, obviously he costs a lot when you're talking about trading to that top 10. So going from 28 to top 10, that's going to cost a lot. Now, we could be sitting here saying that player is worth it. And if we feel like that type of player is worth the draft capital, whether it's a future first round pick plus, something, whether it's our 60th overall pick and something else in this year's draft, if we feel like he's that type of player and he's worth it, man, you go get him, right? Go get him. Who cares? But at the same time, I can understand not wanting to give up multiple picks in this year's draft along with the future first round draft pick as well. So if that's a little bit too rich, I can understand that. But Malik Neighbors is a heck of a player. Yeah, he one of the ones. I mean, you can make the case between him and Rome Odunze. Which one do you like? Pick your flavor. Both of them boys are problems. But Malik Neighbors, yeah, he can go, man. He could definitely go. But the two other receivers, man, that have kind of popped up a couple of times as well in terms of just either staying around 28 or moving just a couple of spots up, potentially 25 or even 20. Troy Franklin out of Oregon, and Xavier Worthy. That's the other receiver in Texas, right? The dude that broke the record in terms of the 40-yard dash right at the combine. So both of those guys could fly. Both of those guys are nice. Both of them dudes, man. But I think with all three of those dudes, Troy Franklin, Xavier Worthy, and Adonai Mitchell, I think all three are kind of getting a similar thing, man. Speed dudes right now, but has the ability to develop into more, right? Have the ability to develop into better route runners, more refined players with that type of speed, man. So definitely like those options, man. But if it's for me, man, I kind of lean on go get Brian Thomas. If he's available in them teams, go get Brian Thomas. Because I think that he's that perfect blend of what we want in terms of size, speed, consistent hand catching. He doesn't cost as much as going to get a Malik Neighbors or even trying to flirt with the Rome Odunze either, But at the same time, if you do sit at 28 and you get one of these receivers, whether it's an A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, any of those guys, I'm cool with that. But I do feel like if we do that, we might want to go get another wide receiver at 60. Just that thought process, or, early in that fourth, whenever we're picking again, it's like you might want to go double up on the position because we did lose not just Diggs, but Gabe Davis also. So we got to make sure that either we go get one of the best or one of the top 3 to 4 receivers in this draft, or we're going to need to double up. And I'm cool with either one of those. Now, if we want to go completely away from the wide receiver spot at 28, well, there is a pass rusher that's out there. Y'all know I love my pass rushers now. I love me a pass rusher. But the UCLA edge rusher, man, Latu, man, when I tell you that dude can ball, fundamentally sound, could play right and left side. Heck, like in terms of just the size on him, big body dude, man. But like I said, the athleticism there, the production is there, but more importantly, I think his skill set in terms of having a rush plan, not a one-trick pony. He doesn't win and make a lot of production just because he has a college rush package. And what I mean is, dudes at the collegiate level, man, in terms of pass rushers, a lot of times, man, we can just run by these dudes. You don't really have to go into your bag of, man, inside moves, spin moves, counters, right? And just learning how to stack rush moves together. So a lot of times, guys that were ultra productive in college with the speed rush, they get to the NFL level and they struggle mightily with that. When you look at Latu, that's not the case with him, man. He can win with speed. He can win with power. He has a nice sense of using his hands and just being active in terms of putting together multiple rush moves as well, man. I think that he is a guy that definitely translates. And the big knock on him is the medical, right? If he doesn't have the medical, he's a top 10 dude, more than likely. But he did have a he had a medical retirement prior to transferring to UCLA. He was at Washington, dealt with the neck injury, but obviously this past season, everything was cleared. He went out of UCLA, balled from start to finish, and here we are. So he's definitely one of those ones that if we sit at 28, none of the receivers are available, and we're like, bro, he's the best guy that's sitting here right now. Could we take him? Would we take him? I don't hate the thought process, all right? But that's, like I said, how I look at it, man, how I'm thinking on it right now. But you guys let me know your thoughts on what you're doing in this first round. All right, at 28, are you sitting there or are you moving up? And is it 100% we're taking wide receiver, or are you cool with potentially taking a different position? But either way, let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button one more time if you have not done so, and subscribe if you are new to the channel. But before you go, just remember this one thing. Don't nobody circle the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.